in the middle of nowhere. I have no idea where we are. Shooting. Yeah.
We're in Colorado.
Yeah.
That's all we know.
That's all I know. We're somewhere by Conifer, Morrison, maybe, on a road called High Grade. Just took these guys up to, so one of my favorite roads, Deer Creek. I used to live down Littleton, south, if you know Colorado, south 470 off of like Wadsworth, Botanical Gardens area. Take that road up. A lot of bicyclists, a lot of motorcyclists come up here. You'll catch some pretty nice cars once in a while. But yeah. And then go up Deer Creek, take a left at basically the first tee there, which is High Grade, and you get those that nice twisties, right?
Yeah, super fun. We're kind of from all over the really disparate backgrounds, but brought together by motorcycling, like so many of us are. And we have these fun conversations at lunch and breakfast and all the things we're talking about. We're certainly talking about shooting Champ U, but John Ulrich said it really well. He's the editor of Road Racing World, and he's owned multi-time championship teams and is a racer, TZ250 racer. He said one time, just kind of out of the blue, he said, for an unconnected group of people, motorcyclists are pretty darn cool.
Yeah.
And it is a neat group, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and it seems like the better you get at the sport and the more effort you put into the sport, that coolness factor of those around you increases tremendously. Like, I had a buddy of mine grew up dirt biking, and he ended up racing, the Baja, Vegas to Reno, doing all that stuff. So he was around guys like Ricky Brabeck, and, there's some pretty cool names in that circle. So regardless of what discipline you do in motorcycling, there's always, the better you get at the sport, the cooler people you surround yourself with.
I'll buy that. I'm of course with YCRS, ChampSchool. Alex is with ChampSchool as well. He runs our whole Champ U programs, but also is doing road racing and really into it. Coop is our lead media person for ChampSchool, but also runs Legion Moto, which is track days here in Colorado. So we're all in it from different ways, but we're all really enjoying the riding. And today and yesterday, I get to ride. you poor suckers are stuck in the SUV shooting and stuff like that. So I've really enjoyed these 2 days.
Oh, I bet you did.
Yeah, it's really been good.
No, it's been fun. We're out here shooting some content for Champ U, and looking forward to hopefully providing that to everybody here in a couple weeks, I hope. We'll see how Coop does.
We'll see. I don't know if it'll be a couple weeks, but it'll, let's say a few weeks to several weeks.
Sure.
One thing I really wanted to talk to you guys about, and we've kind of hinted around at it, but it's kind of fun while we've got the camera rolling, is you all, your recent history was with a really cool group. Both of you are Army veterans. Both of you are high level. You worked at a high level. You did high level things, high risk things, with really cool pieces and really good people. How close is that to now your motorcycling lives? Both of you road racing and doing track days. How close is this trade-off?
You want to take this one?
Yeah, I mean, for me, we talked a little bit about the scale where it falls in line with, and it's, for me, it's number 2, doing what I did in the military. There was nothing, quite like being with your team, going to go, do what you've been trained to do, and live, having that high, basically feeling invincible. There's nothing quite like it, but however, that's what I like to call 5% of the military. The other 95% is just training to do that, right? And so this is a close second. For me, I was looking for something to fill that kind of that void, that gap, and motorcycling, does it for me.
Yeah, and you can see it from your tattoos, Ranger Regiment written all over you, especially the hair. But I mean, it's one of those things though, right? Like, it's kind of what we were discussing a second ago. Like, the better you get at something, the cooler and cooler your surroundings become. Mm-hmm. Like, going from normal line platoon infantry guy up to Ranger Regiment, like, there are certain steps you have to take to get there, and you have to perform at a really high level to even get to that. Yeah. And once you're there, you still have to perform at a high level. Otherwise, RFS, right?
Yeah, every day. It's
released
a lifestyle.
For standards.
Yeah, so every day in regiment is just that. It's a lifestyle. You earn that tab every single day you're there. So,
Yeah, and that is really a neat tie-in with motorcycling, because we do have the cool parts. We have the technologies. We do have risk. There's risk. There's significant reward. You've both done well on a road racer, and that Sunday night having dinner with your crew after doing well. I mean, there's very few things like it, especially for civilians who haven't been to where they have like civilian. And we also have the chance to continually improve. You probably are never a perfect sniper, perfect shot.
No. So, as a sniper, really, it's all about probability, right? So, our biggest challenge was how can we increase our probability of first round hit at whatever range we choose, right? So we actually would have a graph of, hey, I have a 90% probability of first round hit at this distance based on these conditions. And we'd consistently try to push those conditions into a worse area or push our shots out further and see if we can still get that 90% probability. And it was one of those things where, the wind picks up 10 miles an hour, well, that increases the difficulty by, an order of magnitude. So there was never any perfect shot. There was never any perfect day. It was just how good are you at these fundamental things? How good are you at the basics? And can you reduce all the surrounding variables to the best of your ability to get that 90th percentile?
And what do we do on motorcycles? We say when the speed is up or the grip is down. When the pace is up, you're running your best personal lap, you're going a little bit quicker through the canyons, or the grip is down, you leave work and it starts to rain. Then we're back to basics. Same.
Yep. Yeah, there's no secret sauce to the sport, fair to say. Yeah. Like there really isn't a secret sauce. There's no like, hey, do this magical thing with your wrist 3 times and click your heels and all of a sudden you're, Fabio Quartararo winning world championships. Like that's not how the sport works. It's right. How good are you at reducing your inputs to exactly what inputs are engineered into the motorcycle? The closer you can reduce that, the closer you can take this hand and make it this hand. Like that's really what we're chasing.
Mm-hmm. We can give you the ingredients to the secret sauce, but it's up to you to, get each of those ingredients, I guess, so to speak, and put it all together and, and keep improving, right? I mean, tying it into food, right?
Yeah, I mean, we got to bake that cake somehow, right?
Yeah, we got to get it.
We're a little
bake
hungry
cake
here.
sometimes.
You guys ever see the show Nailed It?
The show Nailed It? No.
Yeah, Nailed It.
No.
So they take a professional like baker or something, right? And they have this beautiful cake, for a wedding and whatever. It's just picture perfect. Looks like it's ready for the gram, right?
Okay.
And then they take some random person and they're like, all right, cool. Here's all the ingredients. Here's the steps. Make it. And it comes out and it's trash.
Wow.
Right? So, but really, I mean, it's degree of application, right? They're doing the same stuff.
Yeah.
They're still using the mixing bowl. They're still doing everything else. But like the result is on them.
Yeah, that's funny. And this isn't a sales pitch, but that's truly a big part of ChampSchool is getting things in the right order. And Coop and Alex, both you had things in the wrong order.
Yeah.
When you both came to motorcycling, 4 years ago?
It's longer than that, much longer than that.
4 years ago.
Alex, 4 years ago?
Yeah. 2007.
Okay, so 15
math,
years ago?
Yeah.
So when these guys came to motorcycling, you might have heard different things, but you didn't have it all together. And walk us through how it went for you.
I'll go for mine because mine's a little bit funnier story. I was in the service at the time, into cars. Quick story, I was at Fort Campbell going to Murfreesboro to a party, guys on bikes, I was doing like a $130 on the highway and they dropped back and they flew by me like I was standing still, that contagious, that, flying by, and I was like, wow. And we get to the party and everybody's like, hey man, cool car, but all the girls wanted to go on the back of the bikes, So anyways, a buddy of mine let me cruise around on his like Suzuki 1000, and then I get out, I move to Denver, and I remember going to the dealership to get my first bike. It was a 1000 and CBR 1000 limited edition, and I had my buddy Rock with me, former SF dude. He used to race, and he's like, yo man, you should definitely get a helmet. And I was like, oh, I already ordered one online. I ordered some HAC with cool graphics.
Sure.
He's like, no, you should get an Arai. And I was like, I don't need a helmet, man. It's gonna come. Why would I buy another helmet? Instead, I buy this jacket. And let me tell you, it was a Corona racing jacket. It was the blue, the yellow, right?
Nice.
Hot. Matched the bike. However, here's how big of a noob I am. Corona racing Suzuki, right? It didn't say Suzuki, but all that I cared about is it matched the bike. So I got my cool jacket
for the girls.
Yeah. And I get on. I'm so excited. This dealership was on Colfax, and if you know Denver at all, the next street, Colfax 15th, the next street is 13th, 14th. They're both one-ways. And I'm not paying attention. I'm so excited. I'm on my new bike. stop, as I'm going down 13th, and then I pick my eyes up and I realize, hey, traffic's coming right at me. And, oh gosh, panic, right? So what do? Not a lot of room, and I don't even remember. I obviously panicked. I grab a fistful of brake, right? I end up laying it down. I just remember popping up. I hit my head on the pavement there. I'm bleeding, right? I don't even remember. It takes me a minute. I'm like, oh, whose bike is this, right? Oh, it's a nice bike. Why is it just laying here, right? And then it all comes back to me. Oh my God, I just dropped it. Here comes Rock. He's like, he's trying not to laugh, but he's like, what the fuck was that? You know? And I was like, I don't even know. Nobody stops either. It's Colfax. People just keep driving.
So no girls.
No girls. Luckily, I'm sure somebody saw.
Bleeding from the head was not
bleeding
a big,
from the head.
You picked up a dude. Rock was there.
Yeah, Rock was there. Picked him up. He was not impressed.
No.
And of course, I'm still trying to play it off, right? Oh, cool. I'm
Yeah.
cool in front of my friend, right? I kept stalling the bike. I'm losing blood. People are looking at me crazy at stoplights. Eventually, Rock's like, dude, just drive. I'll ride it back. So he rides it back. I was going to work. I was a security advisor for a hotel at the time. And I remember the GM was like, he was already skeptical of me buying one of those crotch rockets, right? Like, aren't those dangerous? And here I come. And he's like, you should get that checked out. Just take the weekend. And this happened to be St. Patty's Day, right? So I tucked the fat in my face and I put a Band-Aid on it, and we go out drinking. And the more I drank, the more it leaks. And the more bars we hit, the more the story changes. It went from what really happened to trying to impress girls, and we just got in some gnarly fights at the bar. That was my first bike, my first riding experience. And from there, I didn't take into account, I used the bike as a cool guy, right? I used it to pick up chicks for quite a few years there, just as a way to get from point A to point B, but always as a status quote, status factor, right? Like, this is cool. Look at me. And I didn't really start to take it seriously till about 2012, and then eventually track days. And, it's just kind of, once you get into that and you really see, hey, this is a machine, a performance. This is a sport, right? There's the right way and a wrong way to do this, and the wrong way can get you seriously hurt or killed. And getting with a bunch of programs really is taking it twofold.
There's a question before, Alex, you tell us about your ride. Here's a question, Coop, that I do wonder about, because you came to the school. We do ask you to take it seriously. We do ask you to get after it and kind of point your life at it, really, because it's so dangerous. So is it more fun now that you are doing things and working on things and always playing with technique, or is it more fun then when you just pop on a bike with a jacket and go cruise around?
So much more fun now, and you see it in guys who have experience, right? You go out on track with them or whatever, and things that are like, whoa, are you at like your full pace? And you're like, no, I'm riding at maybe 70%, but to you that may seem like, gosh, they're so far, but they're just having fun, And I remember, gosh, things as a beginner rider, taking a easy corner that I wouldn't think twice about now. Wow, used to really scare me, Right. And now that I know how everything works, brakes, miles equal, R equals miles per hour, all those things, gosh, none of that. I never have a moment. I raced a full season last year, and I remember, there was a few times where I had a little moments, but I was never off track. There wasn't a moment where I ever felt like I'm not in control of the motorcycle.
Those moments actually kind of become fun too.
Right.
Okay, cool. I got this.
You see them coming.
Exactly.
You see them coming.
Yeah.
You're ready for them, and I think that's a big thing, because we don't want to take the fun out of riding, but it does get more fun. I mean, the MSF says the more you know, the better it gets, and that's truly the fun factor and the safe factor. And laying in the middle of a one-way street with your head bleeding and your new bike on its side, but in a good-looking jacket, is not all that much fun.
See, when I started riding, I didn't have the cool jacket.
No
cool jacket.
No cool jacket.
And you were really recent to it, so you went and took a class, and
so
how'd
I
it go?
started. I tried.
You didn't take a class because you didn't.
No, I didn't need a class.
He didn't need a
No,
class.
so I just got out. I don't need anything.
Smart Ranger.
Super smart.
I started dabbling in dirt bikes as a kid, and by dabbling I mean, like, I'd be like, hey mom, I'm going to my buddy's house, to like paint Legos or something. I don't know. I don't know what excuse I made up. And then we'd get on dirt bikes, a little Honda Trail 110, didn't have a clutch, didn't have to worry about it, and we'd just tear off through the woods up the mountains. And then my parents found out about it, and they went, hey, so this thing called health insurance, you don't have any, so we should stop that. So just got out of motorbikes for a long time. Got out of the Army in 2016, went to finish my undergrad, and then got accepted to law school. And I said, I need a faster way to get downtown because the hours are going to be weird, and I'm mostly going to be riding around during rush hour. So might as well get a faster way to get downtown. And save a bunch of money on gas. So I'm going to save money by going to motorcycles. That was my thought,
Boom.
right?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I'm
Yeah.
going to take that Smart Ranger hat and put it on now.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Where
It didn't work out
We
so well
tried.
that way, right?
Yeah.
So I took a class, right? The Idaho Star. So it's our state's equivalent of MSF or whatever other course, basic rider course licensing. Went out for a ride like a week and a half later, something like that. Really tight, narrow, twisty canyon with a couple of friends, and a log truck had come into my lane a corner before, and spooked me a little bit, so I ran a little wide. And then the very next corner, it was a decreasing radius corner. Really nothing to worry about now, but at the time it was the scariest thing in the world. And I did exactly what I was taught to do. I added throttle to stabilize the suspension and added lean, to make the corner. And I couldn't figure out why I kept going wider and wider and wider until I was completely off the road, hit some dirt, bike went end over end. I remember sailing through the air. The back of my head hit a rock, split this about this size rock in half.
Wow.
So got up, thankfully I was wearing a helmet,
Yeah.
to save your life. And actually my face is probably a little bit prettier
Yeah.
still.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
He has to
Still
wear a
that nice
beard because
scar.
of his
Yeah, you
scarring.
can
Right.
shave
Yeah,
still.
yeah.
So
No, but yeah, so I sat there, and for a good probably 6 hours or so, my friends were fantastic. They ran back to their house, picked up their pickup, and came and grabbed me. So hats off to those guys. But man, that 6 hours, I learned a lot of things about, do I really want to be in the sport? That whole 9 yards. And we got back to their house, and Michelle, one of the gals, she says, you need to go to champ school. I said, okay, cool. What's that? She goes, well, it's a school I went to back in the day. She road raced and stuff. And she said, you need to go to champ school. I said, well, what about the superbike school thing? There's all these other schools that are way less expensive, and she goes, yeah, you could do that. But if you just go to champ school, you'll get all of the lessons from all the other schools in a format that you can handle, as a newer rider, and then use those lessons to progress. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll try it. So I went back home, talked to the wife, and I was like, hey, so if I'm going to stay in motorcycling, let's just drop the $2,000 and, see what happens. If I hate it after that, no big deal. I'm out $2,000. Oh, well, we'll figure it out later. So threw down the $2,000, came down. It was a 19-hour drive each way from Idaho down to Indy Motorsports Ranch,
Yeah, that's a haul.
through the FZ09, because I upgraded after I crashed, of course, to a faster
Gotta
bike.
get something bigger.
of course,
Right.
you guys. What were you on originally? I didn't catch
I was
that.
on a Versa 650.
Versa 650.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's better to
okay.
get a faster bike after that.
Yeah.
That solves
You
everything.
Step up.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, according to some people, man, you open that throttle and lean it over. That'll fix the cornering process.
Yeah.
So I figured,
What is that
why
catchy,
not?
horrible phrase? When in doubt,
Throttle out. Yeah.
That's
Yeah, so I came down to champ school
Brilliant.
as a student. It's February 2018 or 19. I think it might have been 19 at that point.
wow. Okay.
Maybe it was 18. I don't remember. Anyway, a couple years ago, not very long ago. Came down as a student, was the second slowest person in the class, which I was very proud of. I wasn't the slowest.
Okay. Yeah.
You're
But man,
23rd.
yeah, exactly. 23rd out of 24.
Good.
But my big takeaway, honestly, though, was just, wow, I had done everything wrong.
Okay.
I could actually look back at the crash, and instead of going, oh, it was the dirt in the corner, it was no, I was using the wrong inputs at the wrong time. And then from then on out, I could diagnose anything I was doing on the bike and figure out what exactly I was doing wrong and how to fix it, what right looks like. Because there's something to be said for not only teaching somebody the correct way to do things, but giving them the tools to understand what they're doing wrong to begin with and diagnose their riding and then fix it. And I think that's really the takeaway that I took, from Champ School originally, was just that toolkit of, can I diagnose my riding and how can I refine it further?
Have you been through that same corner since?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, no problem.
yeah.
Yeah.
So this, so after the first 2 or 3 times back through it, I don't even recognize the
Yeah,
corner
yeah,
anymore.
yeah,
I
just-
have no idea where it is now.
Yeah. And, we promised we wouldn't make it sales pitchy, but it is interesting what brought you back. Both of you were in a position to be done riding, to say it's not for me, it's too crazy, I don't like it. And how many people buy a bike, crash it, have some drama, and quit?
Oh, I see it. I see it at track days. I see it at open lapping days. Not necessarily our track days, but I see guys who, they don't want to pay to go to either a school or something like that. I think I'm just going to go out here and try it myself.
Need more days.
Right?
Need more
Yeah, I
days,
got my street bike, right? And then what happens is they end up crashing or something happens. They're like, oh my gosh, all of a sudden it sets in. Wow, I got to pay, $1,000 deductible on my bike, all of this, and I just ruined gear, and I'm done with this. This isn't for me. Rather than looking at, well, why did I crash? And
that is such a huge lesson for everybody who's listening. Is that we have at the school, we have so much faith in our students. If they come in with one thing, and what's the one thing they need?
well, they need help.
Yeah.
Well, they need desire.
There you go. That's the word I was thinking of. Thank you. Kenny Roberts Sr. said, 3-time world champion. He said, all you need is desire. I'll teach you the rest. And that's the way we feel about our school. So you guys stuck with it. You got back up and said, okay, I'm not doing this well. I would like to do it well. Who's doing it well? I'm going there, and off you went. So, but if anybody is in that boat and you have a passion for riding motorcycles and you have the Rossi posters and you've got your old helmet still there and you love it, but you didn't think you're good at it, I'll bet you money wrong processes. Is that?
Well, Nick, you brought up an interesting point. A second ago, you said, who's doing it well? And that, I think, was really the deciding factor for me in what school I was going to end up attending. Was I had looked at, I think it was the PACE 2.0 you wrote. And because I like doing research. That was kind of my jam. So I was doing some research on the school, found the PACE 2.0. And in the PACE 2.0, you basically said, hey, I was wrong in the original iteration of this, in the PACE. Here's the correction, and the fact that you were willing to correct it really kind of meant a lot to me. Like, okay, he cares about what the best are doing, and that whole concept of best practices, right? Huge fan of best practices. Like if I'm in a position where I'm around people that aren't using it, either I'm going to get them to use best practices or I'm going to remove myself from that situation. And so the fact that ChampSchool was predicated on best practices, not a doctrine, not a tradition, if you will, but best practices meant a lot to me, and that was really the deciding factor of why I came to the school.
So if you came down to my house and we were going to shoot long guns, would you have me shooting the exact same way at 25 meters as you will have me shooting at 800 meters?
Absolutely.
That's best practices, right? And so what we learn at slow speeds is what we'll try to take into our high speeds. So we try to teach slow speed stuff from the very, very beginning. We try to teach best practice from the very beginning at whatever speed you're going. And then it just, now he's second overall in his first year racing. You understand that? He's on RSV4 racing and having the times of your lives. And getting back to the feelings you had protecting our country. Getting back to that, not only the cool machinery and the risk and the difficulty and it'll never be perfect, but the people. The people you're hanging around with now at track days and everything else. And I think the people who aren't humble, the people who are assholes to be around motorcycle riders, I always think to myself, that guy or gal has not raced at a high enough level. They have not been soundly beaten by somebody who's on a worse bike than you, on shagged out tires, with their leathers flapping, and they go by you and leave you for dead. That teaches the humility. And humility is part of your saying for Legion Moto, right?
Yeah, it's ride faster, suck less, and just stay humble.
Stay humble.
And I think that's huge. I mean, we all started from right there on Colfax, picking my bike up to where we are now.
And
we're always
in your face.
putting the fat back in my face, and so it's a huge thing. There's always going to be in any sport, in any aspect of your life, work, whatever it may be, whatever you're into. There's always somebody faster, better. So it's be braggadocious in this sport.
Nice word.
Thank you.
Good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Man, and like you said, you'll meet, it's very rare, because the motorcycling community is so good. But in any aspect of life, you'll always meet that one person, right, that can be a jerk about things, and that's just it. You nailed it on the head, right? They just haven't had their humble pie yet. That's all.
Go racing to the higher level. Get out of C group, whatever else it is.
Go to, we have IMI here. Here's a fun story. I've seen guys who spend a ton of money. They got all the money in the world, and they spend it on a supermoto or whatever bike to go to IMI, and then just to get chewed up, eaten and spit out by 10-year-old little kids on little mini bikes. You know what I mean? That'll put your whole riding in perspective.
One of the things that we
does.
talk a lot about, Nick, is that racing informs best practices for a reason, because the results are measurable, right?
Yep.
Same thing in the sniper community. We have competitions for a reason. Competition breeds excellence. And it's only when you're really pushing the envelope do you find where those limits are, and what you're capable of, what the bike is capable of, the long gun, the bullet you hand loaded, anything. And it's really only in testing those limits do you find a technique that will work all the way up to that limit. And I think this is where people get really kind of wrapped around the axle in the riding community. Like, why should I listen to racers? What lessons do they have for me? Really, it's, why should you listen to the guy that rides on the 75-degree Sunday back and forth to the coffee shop? Like, sure, he's been doing it for 50 years, but he's riding on a perfect day, perfect conditions, perfect tires, probably perfect bike. He probably takes impeccable care of the thing. But why would I do that if I know there's a chance that my perfect Sunday ride up the mountains is going to end with a snowstorm halfway through? And I'll have to ride in the snow, or I'll have to, there's gravel across the road again. There's, something's going wrong. So why would I base or predicate my entire riding education off of a perfect situation? I'd much rather, train for the worst days, like the days that have the sleet, the days that, you're pushing a shagged slick around Utah Motorsports campus, desperately trying to get around that 160 horsepower R6 in front of you.
Yes. Right. Those are the times you need it. And you think about champions, and that's why we call it Champion School, right? And we didn't call it any of our instructor school, because we don't really want to be tied into what one of our instructors is doing. We want to say, what are the best in the world doing? And that's why we can say, you know what, we're changing this, we're tweaking that, we're messing around with things. Because what makes a champion? Is it speed? The priority is speed, or is the priority consistency?
It's consistency.
Is consistency. And when you really look at these championship races, you'll see a couple times the person who wins the championship in boat racing, almost through the line, they'll have some 8th and 9th place finishes that they would consider terrible, a complete fail, but they'll finish 8th, they'll get points for 8th, and then win the championship by 2 points. So this idea behind the consistency of whatever you're doing it at slower speeds, shooting in this case, because we're talking so much with these guys, and shooting
25-meter target.
That's right, 25 millimeter, and get that shot perfect, and everything you're doing with everything that you teach us, then we take that on to the next one. And because that consistency is what we're chasing. We just came up 3 or 4 canyons that I've never seen before, never seen them in my life, but because I consistently do things on the bike, I can then adapt my consistency to whatever's coming at me, whatever I see. There's plenty of times we've turned in on the brakes and seen gravel and had to do some things, seeing big potholes in the road, right? This road's pretty rough, and just make all those adjustments. But because we've consistently entered the corner with eyes, brakes, and body, things, they went fine. Coop, you're driving a SUV. Are you driving it completely different than you would race your RSV4?
There's a lot of the similarities, right? I'm still trail braking into the turns, the same thing. I'm still, staying in line, right? I don't want to be crossing over, so I'm still getting my eyes up, looking, scanning, right?
You chucking the wheel in there?
No, absolutely not. We don't want to roll this thing down the mountain fast, right? So no, it's all very similar.
That's such a big thing. So whatever you're doing in your life that you're doing well, whether it's sports, coaching, business, raising your kids, look at how hard you worked at that and how hard you continue to work at that. Look at that, and then apply that to motorcycling, because these two came, especially Coop, came into motorcycling literally at the top of the world. I mean, probably one of the most fit, most trained persons in the world. Prettiest for sure. Pretty for sure. And so he came into with so many things. He was very coordinated, very good balance, very strong, smart, used to training. But your first ride didn't go well.
No, it didn't. I thought, I would just jump on it and go, right? Like, I got this. How hard can it be?
If Rocco can do it.
Yeah.
Rocco.
Yeah, he's not the smartest guy.
His
I
name's
got
Rock.
this, So, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you need the training.